Charlotte and Ronda in the I Quit match. And I thought that this, and again, it's a commentary on a state of wrestling. Seth and Cody was the best wrestling match. This was the best grudge fight. So the girls now have the best grudge fights on the major wrestling show. And the people besides Cody and Seth probably wanted to see these two get together, see what was going to happen. I would think more than anything else, any of the other matches on this show. Would you concur with that?
I would concur with that. And it really is amazing how Ronda could be one thing in her promos and you think, oh boy, how could anyone get behind her? And then you see her in the ring and, you know, her and Brock are very similar. They take everything they do seriously once they're out there.
And the thing is, again, this isn't hard. And what have we been saying for weeks ever since she came back? We should hear her talk as little as possible. We should see her doing her judo throws and her Ronda shit as much as possible. And above all else, don't leave her because she's green in positions where she's in a battle royal with nothing to do, or it's a multiple person match and she gets confused. Here, this was whether it's a work or a shoot, she's used to one-on-one conflicts with people. So it's easier to be mentally in this. This was, except for smiling again when she came out for the I Quit match. She's the happiest girl in the whole USA. And she had the Ronda Raccoon eye makeup on. This was what you want to see from Ronda Rousey. They opened it hot, back and forth, and it was stiff. It looked like a struggle. At one point, Charlotte nearly fucking folded her up like an accordion with a German suplex. Ronda was doing all kinds of the judo throws. Everyone gets a pop. And then they did good floor fighting. And by the way, shout out to Rudy Charles, the referee. Good to see him. And then they were fighting on the floor, and I'm thinking, this is fucking great. And then they pulled out the kendo sticks. And
that's the thing. I wasn't as crazy as you about fighting on the floor, but then once they pulled the kendo sticks out, that took me down a notch.
Well, the thing is, it looked like an actual fight instead of what the girls usually do out on the floor. I could buy this. And they'd been in the ring already, and they'd done the judo, and it was cooking, right? They had it. And then the kendo sticks, and then Charlotte runs and goes to the entranceway and comes out with two of them. And then they slow down, and they're going to fence with the kendo sticks. I was liking it so much, right? And they had all kinds of stick shots, and they fought out into the crowd and up into the bleachers. It was still a fight, but things slowed down severely. And if they'd have stayed at ringside, done all the stuff on the floor, not brought out the kendo sticks, and not gone into the crowd just because that's what the smart fans expect from a big brawl, I think they'd have been better off. They didn't need to go as long as they did and do everything else they did at the start and at the finish, just take that middle part out. It brought the momentum down. It made it more standard bullshit wrestling instead of a real fight between these two. And by the time they'd done that, when they get back to the ringside and they are fighting around ringside and on the desk, the fans start chanting, "We want tables." Well, yeah, because you've seen the kendo sticks and the fighting outside and the chairs and whatever, so now you want tape. If they're chanting not for the baby face to win, but they want more stunts, or that they don't want Ronda to kick Charlotte's ass, they want either one of the girls to pull out a table and put somebody else through it, then they've seen way too much garbage fucking wrestling. And that's, unfortunately, that's the problem industry-wide. And that's all when they see a garbage match, they just want to be fed more garbage. So anyway, so now you have an MMA fighter and former UFC champion in an I Quit match, but they're out on the floor using chairs. So that makes perfect sense. But they've never lost the fact that it's a fight. It's still stiff. It's better than most girls' work. But they're just degenerating into bad gaga modern wrestling. They did a great spot where Ronda got Charlotte hung from the turnbuckle in the Tree of Woe outside on the apron and got the arm bar. And finally, they got back in the ring. Charlotte got the figure eight. Ronda wouldn't quit and grabbed the chair that was laying there and hit Charlotte to break it. So theoretically, I don't know that you should be able to do that. But nevertheless, fans are again chanting, "We want tables." If they'd have kept up what they were doing before the kendo sticks came out and then got back in the ring and fucking kept it up, I bet you they wouldn't have got that. And the people would have been all the way into the match. So anyway, finally, Charlotte gets a chair and says, "Happy Mother's Day, Ronda." But Ronda grabbed Charlotte's arm sticking through the chair and got the arm bar on it. And Charlotte had to tap or say, "I quit." So Ronda won, and Ronda's now the new champion. And I love that finish because it was a standard arm bar. The chair did nothing, but it looked like it did because it's a chair around her arm, and that made sense. Yay for them. I would have loved it completely without the trip up into the bleachers and the kendo sticks. But they still, throughout this whole thing, it was a fight, and I believe there is some element of dislike between Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. I do. I bet there is, but I still believe it.
You know, the thing about Charlotte, she's like Cody, what I said earlier. You watch her matches, she's an athlete having a contest. You watch her face, she's strange, she sells, she does all these different things. I can lose myself in a Charlotte match. I talked before about the high-end women are as good as anyone. Ronda and Charlotte work really well together. The stuff on the floor, that took me out of the match a little bit. The kendo stick specifically, because she got a kendo stick, and then Charlotte runs in the back, and there just happened to be two kendo sticks right next to the entrance.
Just leaning there, right next to the entranceway. Well, it's because they run a martial arts class in that building on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well, after Sensei Walter leaves, they leave the kendo sticks behind, I guess, but good otherwise. Really liked it, and I guess Charlotte's going to have some time off, and now we get to see what they're going to do with Ronda. Now it'll be interesting. What do you do with Ronda?
Well, that will be interesting because you've got a problem now in that most people still, they know that Ronda's legitimate. So most of the girls on the roster, I mean, let's face it, you would think, okay, she should be able to take girl X or girl Y apart in about 30 seconds. At the top, most of the really good female talent are, well, maybe Ronda and Becky, because Becky's a great heel, but Bianca's a baby face. You wouldn't want to do that.
How long is Charlotte going to be out?
Well, that's the thing also. They announced that her arm was broken as a result of the arm bar through the chair, and then our fine friends Mike Johnson and Dave Scherer and their whole gang over at PW Insider have reported that she's going to get married. So she's taking time off for her upcoming impending nuptiations. How long does that take? That's not like a pregnancy.
No, but, you know, she also has been working there a while, and she may get an extended time off. We'll see, but that was kind of my question. If she does get an extended time, if Charlotte Flair, I'm going to use pronouns. If Charlotte Flair gets an extended time off TV, would you consider turning Ronda heel right now? Would she have more opponents? If she's a heel, she could work with Bianca Belair. Rhea's now a heel. Becky's a heel, so if Ronda's a babyface, she could work with them. How would Ronda be best used right now if Charlotte's out of the picture? But here's the thing.
Again, Charlotte Flair should be, I would think, the long-term plan because Ronda Rousey is in and out, and she came in and worked a deal and then went to have children and whatever and came back. But Charlotte will be there for the imminent future, barring any injuries or whatever. So the money, and I would think also Ronda's broken Charlotte Flair's arm, so certainly that leads to a rematch at some point. So in that match, Ronda still needs to be a babyface, and I don't know of any match you could build in the next 3 months with Ronda and anybody that would mean as much as some type of big score settler when Charlotte comes back from her broken arm, so she's got to stay babyface that long. Maybe Ronda just doesn't wrestle a lot, and that probably wouldn't hurt things either. How can I miss you if you don't go away?
Well, the show didn't go away. There was another match, but...
Well, but I went away for a few minutes at least, because the other match was Happy and Mosh Pit.
Oh, I forgot about that match, actually. There was another match.
There were two more matches. I zipped through this, but I read on the internet that fans were chanting, "End this match."
I zipped through it too. I didn't know that. Now I wish I would have watched to hear that chant.
I don't know whether the rest of it was worth that bit of entertainment, but Mosh Pit. I mean, Happy Corbin just looks weird. He looks like he's been floating in the river for days. But Mosh Pit, if they hadn't given him that gimmick and saddled him with this accomplice and that name and the outfit and everything, he looks like you might could have done something with him. But I'm sure if this isn't a modern day Red Rooster gimmick, nothing is. So Mosh Pit will probably have a short, unhappy career in pro wrestling.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like Disco Inferno with a ponytail, but perhaps if you got through the show up to this point, you weren't feeling so good. You wish the good wrestling would come back. It's probably a really bad transition. Maybe there's bigger things bothering you in life, and you could use some help.
You could use some help, such as me on this program weekly, having to carry the whole load by myself. For heaven's sake, on these transitions, folks, I'll tell you what Mosh Pit ought to call and talk to somebody about the potential problems he's going to have changing his career. I don't know. I didn't have a transition either, but I would have if it was my show. Nevertheless, if you're burnout, folks, burnout, there's the problem. We don't even have any more transitions because we're burnout. Folks, if your life has been overwhelming, if you're burnt out, if you feel like you've got a lack of motivation, you're feeling helpless or trapped, you're detached, fatigued, then a lot of people associate burnout with work, but that's not the only cause. Just daily life and any of our participation in it can lead us to feel burned out. BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself, and talking with someone can sometimes help you figure out what's causing the stress in your life. If you get to the root cause of it, then you can get to the solution. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anybody on camera if you don't want to. And who wants to be all groomed up and shaved and cleaned up for a video meeting in their own home? It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours, folks, and our listeners get 10% off their first month services at betterhelp.com/JCE because they've been a fine sponsor of our programs for so long now. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JCE for 10% off your first month services at BetterHelp. Do not be burnt out. Get your flame reignited. Spark yourself. Commit arson on yourself.
Well, don't do that.
Don't light yourself.
Don't do that. If you think you want to do that, call BetterHelp.
No, do not light yourself on fire. Reignite the spark in your life. That's what you need to do with BetterHelp.
With BetterHelp.